Welcome to the channel. I'm Dane. In case you missed it, we did our first weekly stream yesterday. We streamed for about 4 hours. Me and my new co-host, Lil Movie Perp. He's an awesome dude. He's going to be working with me at least on a weekly basis from now on. We had a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll be there next time, but in case you missed it, the stream is up. You can watch it. But Friday night, the night before, I was on a stream on a channel called I Freaking Love Comics. And let me tell you that this was the best time I've ever had on a comic book stream. It was genuinely a blast. Judah, Robo Strange, and G, they were amazing. They were great to talk to, very passionate comic book fans, funny, charming people. I'm super appreciative that they had me on, and I hope to be on again. I'm just singing their praises because there needs to be so many more channels like these guys. They're doing it right. We just need so much more positive comic book fandom on YouTube. And these guys are just doing it, all right? We had a great time discussing comics. They had a lot of really, really awesome questions for me about my channel, why I do what I do, and even some ethical concerns and questions that they raised that, totally legit questions, completely valid things that I was happy to be able to answer. They're buddies with Ernie, the Blurred Without Fear, who's another friend of this channel. So we're hoping to build like a little network of comic book channels here that are, doing things in a more positive, healthy way. Negative fandom has its own thing going on. There's a lot of that, right? They have their own hashtag too. And I was talking to Judah from I Freaking Love Comics just a little while ago, and he came up with the idea of our own hashtag that we could all start using. Hashtag Comics for All. And I think it's a great idea. That's why you're going to see it in the title and on the thumbnail of this video. They're going to start using it on there. And, any other comic book channels that are watching, I hope you'll start using it too. We need to have our own thing going on. You know what I mean? That kind of lets people know that we're a positive fandom. Another great thing about them is Judah, one of the guys from the channel. He's a huge Silver Surfer fan, as am I. He might be, he's definitely a bigger Silver Surfer fan than I am. He's got like a shrine and everything that I'm kind of jealous of. But check them out. They cover all kinds of amazing comics. They've had some great creators on there. They've had Kevin Eastman, creator of the Ninja Turtles. They've had Cullen Bunn, Tom Brevoort, Fred Van Lente, Ann Nacenti. That rhymes, and I didn't mean for it to. Fabian Nicieza, Magdalene Vesaggio, and they need way more subscribers. So I've got a highlight reel here for you from my time on their stream. Just, pretty much a few of the best moments in my opinion. But there was so much more that we discussed. And I recommend that if you're into this video, the highlights, you go ahead and click down there on the full video, or at least click on their channel and hit subscribe. I really can't stress enough how awesome I think this channel is. And I just hope to see so much more of it. And I hope to be on their channel more. They're great guys. I loved it. It was a great time. I'm still working on the Flat Skin Review episode 2. That should be up by the end of the week. And it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really fun. A lot of good surprises in store. Can't wait for you guys to see it. I Freaking Love Comics. Subscribe below, and their link will be right there. And remember, if you share this video on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, anytime you talk about comic books, try to remember, hashtag Comics for All.
So what's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad. I got Robo Strange here. We got G here. We have a very special guest as well. We have Dane from Forced Adversity. Hello, Dane. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And he's got a YouTube channel, and it's doing pretty well. It's a pretty rapidly growing YouTube channel, and it's almost singularly focused on defeating Comicsgate. So it's pretty awesome. We're not tremendous fans.
Let's jump right into that. Tell us about your channel.
Well, yeah, I do focus on Comicsgate a lot just because, but that's where a lot of my knowledge base is in comics and the culture and stuff like that. But, I am planning on branching out, and I have branched out before, more into like the fandom menace side of things. And,
so let me ask you something, just to this is just something that came up earlier today on our Discord, and I'm just curious about your take on it.
Okay.
Is James Bond a superhero?
That's not the next question on this thing.
I think it is the most important one, though.
That's, I never really thought about that. No. I'm going to say no.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one for my team.
Why? Partly because typically superheroes do what they do, on an individual basis, or for some reason that makes sense to them, but isn't, basically because Bond is controlled by a government agency. And I feel like that kind of negates the idea of being a superhero. At that point, you're just an agent for the government.
So is Nick Fury a superhero?
No.
Yeah, that's actually a good
Consistent.
answer.
I like it.
I actually struggle more with James Bond than Nick Fury. I would definitely say Nick Fury's not.
Maybe this is old-fashioned of me, but like I tend to think that superheroes, while they, like Captain America, will kill somebody if he absolutely has to. Like, that's not his go-to thing. That's not what he, it's typically not in the first few tricks that he's going to use if he's trying to accomplish something. But James Bond literally has a license to kill. Like, that's almost his function is to, be an assassin for the state, essentially.
Yeah, an assassin. 100%.
Can you get a learner's permit to kill? Like, is there a situation?
Yeah, pretty much. If you Casino Royale at the very beginning, it shows him getting his first 2 kills. So I think at that point, before he got that second kill, he had to go. Yeah.
He had to have like an adult over 25 pass.
Yep.
Kill him too.
So Dane, we talked about like your channel, what you do, and you said you're going to branch off. You do know that you said that you concentrate on CG. What was the thing? I am curious to know like other channels that you've done, like, and what brought you to Force Adversity, and what was the thing that said, okay, I'm going to go after CG. This is going to be what the channel's about.
Well, so this is the only channel I have up until earlier this year. I started a second channel that just focuses on comics and stuff, like none of the other stuff. So I started the channel pretty much 2 years ago, within a week or two of 2 years ago now. So like it was end of September, start of October in 2019. And I'd been wanting to start it for a long time because I honestly had been watching. So I used to run some comic book groups on Facebook. And over time, as years went on, I noticed more and more hostility, just a lot more, past
on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is
crazy.
2015, 2016. It just became harder to, I noticed that there were these people claiming that this or that was political or whatever, things that, I've been reading comic books literally my entire life. My older brothers were into comics and stuff. So like, it was just, has always been part of my life. And it just kind of troubled me to see how many people were saying like, oh, well, if there's a black character, then that's a political message or forced, type thing. I didn't understand it at all, for one thing. And so I started looking into it and stuff. And then I started seeing Comicsgate sprouting up and becoming more of a thing, and hearing more anecdotes of people can't engage in their fandom safely because they've got, these types of people coming after them and targeting them, harassing them, abusing them, so on. And it pissed me off. It just became something like I started looking for other people that were addressing it, for one thing, and didn't find a bunch of them. But initially when I started the channel, it wasn't just to focus on this stuff. I was like, my first video was actually just a kind of a political video talking about something going on politically. And I didn't have a specific focus for the channel. It was just basically, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And then as time went on, I would cover comic stuff here and there. And I actually started a series called Forced Adversity that was going to be the show where I addressed this type of stuff. And then I would do other videos on other stuff. But over time, that was just by far and away the most popular type of video that I would do. Every time I would cover that stuff, it was, it was really successful and would have a lot of people thanking me for doing it and stuff. So, I just basically made the decision to narrow my focus and, kind of accepting that I had gotten to where I was okay at this. And as far as, I consider myself more successful the more of Comicsgate type people get mad at me.
Yeah.
And I've got a background in journalism. and so that comes in really handy.
Yeah.
I try to keep things. Of course, there's going to be people that say I don't, that I just lie all the time, but I really do as much diligence as I can to be as factual as possible.
For sure.
And while applying my own ethics and opinions on top of that. But and that's where I'm at pretty much. And of course, earlier in the year, when I decided to narrow the focus and the channel used to be called Actual Context. When I decided to narrow focus to just forced adversity, and that's going to be what this channel does, I also decided I need a second outlet to just cover the things that I'm passionate about, because I don't want this to be the only thing that I do. It's just the one that happened, the part of my channel that had become most successful and what people wanted to see. And it gives me a feeling of satisfaction when every time, a comment or an email or whatever tells me they really appreciate that someone's doing this. So, that kind of stuff means the world to me.
So one of the times that we pushed on this, we had Renfamous on the show, and of course the Chuds flooded the chat, and we ended up getting doxxed and our stuff put on Kiwi Farms and all that kind of stuff. Yikes. And that was we're pretty active on Twitter, so every now and then EVS will get into a back and forth for a little bit, but then it goes away, right? They have pretty short memories. But with you making this making forced adversity, they're like the focus of that stuff. What other kind of? I feel like you've had to gotten worse, like death threats or anything like that, or maybe am I being over dramatic or what? I
don't believe I've gotten any like explicit death threats. I've gotten kind of implicit ones, I guess. Like you'll get yours and stuff like that. But
we're gonna take you for a swim with some concrete boots.
I've gotten a whole lot of just like slurs. Like being called all kinds of homophobic slurs and stuff like that. That
you haven't been doxxed?
No.
Weird. We got doxxed like right away. What the fuck?
Yeah, right away.
I mean,
bullshit.
May I ask, like, do you know how they got a hold of your stuff or what?
Yeah, all my information is in the public sphere, so they just looked it up.
That's why. Because
that's why.
Mine isn't. Like I said, I was looking at this stuff for a couple of years before I ever started a channel, and I had to work through a few things. One of them, and it's kind of maybe apparent right now, that I'm not a natural public speaker. It's not something I've ever been good at. I've never liked having a bunch of attention on me at one time, right? Though I've gotten a lot better at it. But one of the things that I knew I needed to do, because I'd seen what Comicsgate and other types of people would do, is dox people and SWAT and crap like that. I scrubbed myself from the internet for like probably over a year before I ever started a channel. I got rid of all my social media. If they hacked into my YouTube or email or whatever right now, they would find information that's not going to tell them anything because I prepared for it. So
they revealed to the world that I drank underage when I was 20.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's
how dare you?
It's really fucking embarrassing. Like one day I'm gonna have to get another job, and people are gonna see that. So
that was actually the funniest part of the thing. That when they did dox us, like some of the stuff was like they were all like quasi flattering type stuff. Like
they picked a sexy picture of me. I'll be honest. It was a good picture.
That's the secret. They're all sexy pictures.
That's how you do it.
So Dane, gonna sound like an antagonistic question. It's not. I'm just curious about this because it's something that I often discuss with myself. So I kind of see Comicsgate as like this engine that's fueled almost exclusively by attention, and definitely not by comics. It's like a attention machine. So what I often wonder is, like, when you devote airspace to fighting them, is there any way that inadvertently increases their power, fuels them, just by giving them that attention that they so badly crave? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that's valid. I've heard that a few times, and it's something that I considered. And no, I don't think it does. I mean, I think that, for example, EVS has 160 something thousand subscribers. I have not quite 5,000. So it's not like this is a debate I've seen online as far outside of comics too, with just like politically the idea of platforming.
Yep.
If you have someone like some known Nazi on your channel or whatever, like how yeah, exactly the size of the sizes of the platforms make all the difference, because if you give a Nazi with 50 subscribers a platform on your 100,000 subscriber channel, that's not a good fucking thing,
right?
But if it's Richard Spencer and he's coming on your channel with 5,000 subscribers, like what is that doing?
He's platforming you,
right?
That's exactly right. No, I this argument is exactly right.
I think there's something to be said for like when you have like a certain demographic that's like actively being harmful to one or multiple fandoms. I think it's important for people who are also part of that demographic to speak up about that, because in a lot of cases, like that's the only people that are going to listen. That those people listen to.
Yeah, that's a big reason that I do it as well, is that I am a cis white male, and I recognize that fucking privilege, and I know that it would not be as easy for me to do what I do if I was not any of those
anything
things.
Else. Yeah.
So I try to utilize that, but as well, like the way I see it is, and this is something that I've just come to in the last year. Not even a year, probably 8-10 months. This was an epiphany I had, really, that was like, okay, I get it now. Because when I started this, my goal was like, I was naive. I was like, if I just, get the facts out there, people will change their minds about this stuff. They just, right. Yeah. Laugh at me, please. Please laugh at me. And
I think we all have come to a point since at least 2016 where realizing that like facts are not important.
Right. So so the way I see it is that they're not aiming for, like, they're not trying to change the minds of people like me and you and who know comic books and stuff like that. What they're doing is trying to grab new fans and casual fans who, maybe they saw the MCU movies and they decide, oh, I'm going to get online and look for Thor or whatever the hell. And, like if someone's completely oblivious to the facts of the comic book, the lore or the fandom or the industry or any of that, and they get online and start looking and they find a Comicsgate channel that's telling them, and not only that, but several of them, and they're saying it very forcefully, and especially guys who used to be pros in the industry, right? Saying the industry's dying and it's because of SJWs and all, shit like that. There, it's, the social pressure of that, the social, the social influence of that is it's likely to draw that kind of person in. And so what I'm trying to do is create a counter narrative that's, more based in facts, as well as inspire other people to do the same thing. Like I've said it before, if another channel comes up and does what I'm trying to do 10 times better and gets 1 million subscribers, I'll be like, hell yeah. And I'll, shut my channel down and become their Patreon supporter or whatever. And like, that would be a dream come true for me. So,
yeah.
You could just be friends.
Yeah, I mean, I was exactly, but I mean, just it's a way of expressing that this isn't.
We know how leftists do friendships. So.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't something I do because I just super enjoy it or because I like being antagonistic or anything like that. It's just, and this sounds fucking trite and, but like, it's because I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I have the skill set to do it.
All right. Yeah. I like what you said earlier about the whole platforming thing. I definitely, we had a little bit of a conversation about that. And I'm on board with that as well. One of the things I was actually pretty excited about, I've been watching your stuff for a little bit now, and when I saw the Surfs do a thing and it was based off your video, I was like,
that was huge for me.
Yeah, it was dope, right? I went through, if I'm honest with you, I went through kind of like a phased kind of reaction to that, having been in this world doing the YouTube stuff for the past I don't know how long we've been there, like 2 years, year and a half, something like that. First I was like, fuck, because I'm like, if we're doing labels, I would consider myself a leftist, right? So like I watch surfs, I watch all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, he talks about some nerd stuff, Lance, but I would say people outside of comic books have never fucking heard of Comicsgate, right?
Right.
And then when Lance on the surfs does a whole thing on it, it becomes, you know, Fandom Menace and Quartering and all those fucking pieces of shit, you know, they're big. And now there's like some reverse legitimizing of CG, like, yeah, like, you know, like Comicsgate and EVS, like, yeah, we're like the Quartering too, guys, you know. And so first phase was like, fuck, you know, like I don't want CG out there like that, right? But what you just said is the second phase of my emotion is this. I'm like, but, and we saw it. I don't know, at least 2 or 3 times so far in the people that we interview. There are people that we'll do our due diligence and try to figure out if they're CG related or not. And a couple of them have done interviews with them or have hashtags with them, and we're like, hey, we don't fuck with CG like that, so sorry if you're related. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, well, I'm not CG. Like, well, I'm looking at this post and they're like, had you on the show and they said that CG supported. I don't even know what CG is. Like, what? They seem like good dudes. Like, what's going on here?
It's that some people who are doing Kickstarters or Indiegogo campaigns they're like, they want to dip into both pots. They want that CG funding that they get from like douchebags, but they also be treated like legitimate people, and you just can't have your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean?
Right. But my point is that they are good at coming off as normal at first.
Yeah.
I mean, like EVS tweet, I'm like, wow, if I didn't know who you were, I might think you were normal.
Yeah, one of the things that they like to do, and they've done this a few times, and I was just telling my friend about the Donny Cates example, but like they will every once in a while they'll tweet something or whatever. One of them will say in a video or whatever that so and so is cool with Comicsgate. So I think it was like a year or 2 ago or something where they said,
I remember that
Donny Cates is, you know, down with Comicsgate, and Donny Cates didn't say anything about Comicsgate, right? But what that does is puts him in a position to either come out and have to say, fuck no, I'm not, or say nothing and just allow that, you know, that to go around, that Donny Cates is cool with
Which
Comicsgate.
signal boosts them if he has to throw it back out there. Yep.
Which he did. He did come out and say, fuck those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he says it all the time now. And like, yeah, it upsets Ethan Van Sciver quite a bit. But yeah, they did Darwin Cook. That one was really fucked up, where they started saying that, and this is after his death, right? That Darwin Cook would have been cool with Comicsgate, and his wife came out and was like, no, he wouldn't have. He would have thought you guys are fucking idiots. Yeah. And then they started like harassing her and saying that you're, you know, you don't really know your husband and shit, like, you know, just the craziest shit, because it's all about the thing is, and these are valid concerns, and that's why I don't like get mad at people whenever they mention them to me, because yeah, I understand the logic, but the thing is they're doing tactics like that and trying to legitimize themselves to the point where to not push back on them at all, I think, is the more harmful thing.
Yeah.
You know, because like, for example, would you guys agree that Comicsgate is a hate group?
Yes, 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So do you think that we should, you know, I don't know, not talk about hate groups?
Absolutely not. But
like,
I guess where I'm coming from is, it just as an observer, it looks like they're dying on their own. Like, just looking at their campaigns and looking at how many creators they have and looking at their fan base, and also, you know, just seeing how just the internal strife they have among each other, they look like something that's dying. And
you're kind of right. And so
it feels to me like up on the surfs, to me, that's like to the heart, like resuscitating them for another like 6 months. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I'm on the fence with it. You know what I mean?
The issue isn't, I know that it's the easiest way to say that what I do is go after Comicsgate, and that is the easiest way for me to say it. I say it a lot, but the fact is their narratives have spread outside of Comicsgate. there are people who don't identify with Comicsgate who think that SJWs are killing the comic industry, right? Like that's just a narrative, and all those stupid little completely false narratives. You know what I mean? Like the industry's doing great. It's, you know, I was surprised at how well it did last year.
Dude, listening to Ben Shapiro talk about comic books is the most cringe shit ever. Dude is such a casual.
So, you know, it's
Ben Shapiro talk about anything.
When I is like the easy. All right, hold on. Let me think how to formulate this. But like, I'm not going after Comicsgate. I'm going after narratives that are harmful to the fandoms in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's like just you're saying okay. Sorry, I was just gonna mansplain what you just said.
Go for it if you want to.
No, it's just like if they stop, I'll stop. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
even
have
if
anything to go up against, then
let's say Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate as an official thing or whatever just stops doing all the stuff they're doing next week. If there are still people out there that are saying that, you know, oh, you shouldn't add black characters to comics or something, I'm going to address that shit too.
Right.
I think a good like parallel is QAnon, right?
Yes.
I've heard a lot of people talk about why talk about QAnon. QAnon, they're just a bunch of crazies. They're just the fringe, and talking about that gives them power. And like I said, I watch a lot of the YouTube. So whether it's Vosh or Surfs or whatever, like and they have infighting and stuff. And part of that infighting is who do you either platform, who do you have on your show, who do you decide to debate, and do we talk about things like QAnon? And I think that now that what we've seen with the vaccines and January 6th insurrection, the attack on the Capitol, it's like, wait a minute, because I have to say a lot of my coworkers will say sentences like QAnon. That's crazy. Those people are crazy. I don't have anything to do with QAnon. But you really got to wonder, what are the vaccine and this is that? And it's like, no, those are QAnon talking points, right? So
exactly.
You kind of have to
right.
That. So CG is crazy. It's fringe. They're easily dismissed, but they're, like you said, the narratives leak out from there. And so it's easy for a comic book reader to go, yeah, well, fuck CG. I don't care about CG. Those guys are a bunch of fucking weirdos. But SJWs, am I right? And it's
right.
Yeah.
And
you know, I see what you're saying.
It's the entire the SJW, the anti-SJW movement or whatever the hell that it troubles me in general. But because comics are the thing that I know best, that's what I focus in on, right? Like so, and in my opinion, and I don't even know if this is a matter of opinion, I think that it's probably pretty easy to tell that this is all an extension from the growing neo-fascist sentiments that have happened in our, and you know what I mean? Like it's all part of the same fucking organism. And it's just that I don't know politics as well as a lot of people. Like Lance can go off about politics. Bosch can. I let them do that. And then here's my area over here, and I'm going to hammer on this. So
yeah, for sure.
Valid. Okay.
So I do want to, I want to push on one thing, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
You said something earlier that kind of there have been some tweets, and then you said something that kind of like confirmed it earlier. You said some of your context is going to be about bad lefty takes, which there are, right? There are, but in a political environment that I have issues, and I have a lot of issues with the infighting amongst leftists themselves. Like when I hear like YouTube, I'm like, what the fuck what are you guys doing? That's what I think about. Do you think there's harm? Do you think that it could be taken as ammunition against the SJWs, against the left, if you do content that's kind of highlighting bad lefty takes, or if you like some of the tweets that I've seen that is like making fun of certain leftist point of views or like cartoonish versions of that? Like, do you worry that you're going to be considered a centrist or maybe even a right winger for doing that?
Well, it's kind of a two-part question. I'll answer the last part first, because do I worry about what people are going to think of me? No, because it doesn't matter what I do. People, I mean, think of me certain ways. There are lefties who think I'm just a centrist already because I'm not like, I don't know, because, you know, I mean, during the primaries, after Bernie lost the primary, I was like, well, we got to vote Biden now. And I became a centrist neolib to a lot of lefties at that point. I'm like, we just need to get rid of Trump, dude. Like,
100%.
that's all I'm talking about.
Right.
So there's that kind of vibe online where if you don't line up 100% with these, you know, revolutionary, in my opinion, LARPy positions, then, you know, you're just whatever. And then as far as am I worried about, well, first of all, whenever I say that I'm going to go after the ideas, it's the bad takes. I'm not, and I mentioned this, that I did a Q&A video a while back where I said that I'm going to be doing this, but the difference between this and what I normally do is I'm not going to call people out. In fact, a lot of the takes that I think are kind of silly are from people I super admire and respect, and otherwise I think are doing amazing work. And, you know, so it's not like I'm not going to be starting drama with anyone. It's just going to be like, here's this thing I see around sometimes, or I've heard said, and I'd like to talk about. So it's not going to be nearly as antagonistic as, you know, what I normally do. And that's part of the big reason why I haven't done it yet. You know, I get a lot of comments asking me when I'm going to do something like that. And it's like, because this stuff isn't as harmful as what is coming from the right. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm focused on, is harm reduction. And, you know, so I've been pushing it to the back burner for several months now because, you know, and for these reasons, because I want to make sure when I do it responsibly, that I'm not saying this is what all leftists think or anything like that. Because I tend to be pretty specific about, you know, things. Like I try not to paint with a broad brush.
Yeah, like it seems like you don't really, and maybe I'm projecting because this is kind of how I feel, but it seems like you don't really have a problem with leftist politics. You have a problem with leftist people. So are certain leftist people. And
I live in the Portland, Oregon area, and I've met and interacted with and organized with some lefties around here who are just truly awesome people. And I, you know, couldn't possibly criticize anything they're doing because they're pragmatic, they're smart. I think that that's a different thing than what the online culture becomes on the left. And I think there is a bit of, I mean, there's an element of especially on like Twitter and such, where, is that my cat?
it's my cat, Coco.
Okay. No, it's fine. I just didn't know if he was, you know, there's a lot of, honestly, teenagers like on Twitter and stuff like that don't, they have the talking points, but they don't have any context behind them. They don't have a full grasp on the political landscape to apply these talking points in a way that makes any sense. You know, so it just becomes, you know, kind of performative for some people. And then, you know, and that's not to say all. I definitely don't want to ever imply that I don't think there are any good, you know, lefties online, because there definitely are.
I do this thing. And maybe it's not honest. I don't know. It's a good thing we're not a bigger channel, because I probably get clip shamed for saying this. But sometimes there are times where I see a point and I go, I feel like that makes sense. But I also know that if I say that out loud, that the right is going to run with that, and they're going to take that and they're going to go, and that's fuel. And I would rather. And it's like you bring up harm a lot, right? And so that's me. That's like, so I'm a humanist, and harm reduction is definitely like the basis of how I decide to like take the next step, right, every day. And sometimes I think, well, sitting there acknowledging this as a bad take, or this is stupid, that's going to add fuel to the right. Now, I don't feel like it's worth doing it, because I'm not going to, you know, I don't know. So, but you answered why you've considered that and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and as another thing that I study that, you know, and have studied and stuff is just fascism, historical fascism. You know, so I kind of have authoritarianism in general. Like, one thing that I've realized is I mean, of course, you have to consider this stuff. Like, if I'm irresponsible with my language or what I say, will the right use this against my goals or harm reduction goals or anything. But at the same time, they're gonna find ways to use what you say no matter what.
True.
And it's like if I start thinking every time something might get used this way or that way, it's like that's just what they do. And so I don't feel like it's a, you know, there's a cost benefit ratio there. And like I like to think that it's more beneficial to talk about certain things as long as it's done measured and responsibly, rather than just let it go unsaid. And, you know, sorry.
You're just, it's a distinguishment between annoying and dangerous. Like you could, you know, as long as you always have yourself centered on like, well, this thing that some people on the left are doing is annoying, but this thing that everyone on the right is doing is dangerous.
Right.
And kind of like make sure that there's that balance, that weightedness. Then yeah. Is that what you what you were saying, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, you know, like the things that just, I'll go ahead and say a couple of them that bug me from the left are, and it's typically just something I see on Twitter going around every once in a while. People will say like superheroes are inherently imperialist or fascist or whatever, because they don't, you know, like if I don't know, if they really wanted to benefit society, they would, I guess, overthrow the government. And you know what I mean? Like it starts to get really nebulous there, where it's like, so you're saying that Superman should force his will on society? That's, you know, that's just kind of might is right. Just from
Can I interest you in Dr. Doom?
Yeah.
I think you'll like it.
Or Injustice. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, so just things like that, where it's like, I don't feel like these takes come from, and this is another thing, I don't feel like these takes come from people who actually read comics.
I
So,
think the internet is full of, no matter what fandom, or even if you're not a fandom, just you're boomer on. Like there's people who've like seen a hot take on a meme and have taken it as like, I'm just gonna make this part of my personality.
Yeah.
Without really thinking about it. And it's big stuff and it's like little stupid stuff. And I hate it.
Yeah.
No, you're right. G, did you have any other specific questions or anything you wanted to ask?
Do you have a good day?
Yeah, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah.
Good.
How about you? How was your day?
Oh, my day was pretty good. I finished my book, you know.
Right on.
Oh shit. We're getting into the hard-hitting journalism here.
This is it. This is what